I need 2 volunteers who are white and Christian. And you gotta be like evangelical Christian. Like, like a real Christian. Not like Catholic or something, you know what I mean? Wait, are you good enough, evangelical? Like Jesus, you have like a tattoo of Jesus or something? Do you have a cross? Do you own a cross? Okay, that's good enough. All right, we'll take it. I need somebody else. Okay, come on. I need someone else. Preferably a guy. Are you evangelical? Like serious Christian. Like you pray like this and stuff. Oh, is that you? Oh, okay, come on, let's go. Wait, bro. Wait, hang on. Wait, bro, are you serious? Are you evangelical? You even got a cross? You have a tattoo?
I don't have a cross.
You don't have a cross? Hang on, I'm going to take these 2 white guys. All right, bro, come on down. Plus, you have the muscles, too. Those are like Christian muscles. All right. I'm not sure what Christian muscles are, but he's got them right there. All right. Wait, hang on. Is that the Christian handshake? Hang on. Is that it?
Evangelical.
Oh, cool. So we all know. Yeah. Let me see if I get it. All right. Do you really have a tattoo? A cross? Yeah. Seriously? Oh, just the cross, not a tattoo cross. All right. Oh, no. All right. Have a seat. You can sit on that. And bro, what's your name again?
I'm Nick.
What?
Nick.
Nick.
Sorry.
Got it. What's your name?
I'm Brad.
Brad? Oh, that's such a nice Christian boy name. Oh, and did you hear my granddaughter has a nice Christian boyfriend? His name's Brad. Seriously, no, it's all good. Okay, so listen. I'm doing this. We're actually, what we're doing today is the What Do You Know Part 3, where I bring people up and have you talk about things that you don't know what you're going to talk about until you do. In this one, well, let's just get started. Why do we don't? You can sit up there or not. It doesn't matter. I find it's comfortable a lot of times when people sit, but here's what you got to do. Explain. I need the 2 of you as experts. Yeah, well, you are, because you're closer. You're more of an expert than Simon here. He's just like a pothead. So, white evangelicals represent the group most likely to say that immigration and increasing racial diversity harms America. So, you're not on the spot. You're going to see. I'm going to come around. You're going to see that this is definitely not in any way an attack on Christians or evangelical Christians, because I have a really cool take on this. What do you think that's about? As people who are close to the evangelical movement, what do you think that's about? That you 2 would represent the group in the United States most likely to say that increasing diversity and increasing immigration is actually a bad thing for America, because it seems to me that if we think about this in terms of WWJT, what would Jesus think? That's not what he would think. Okay, so what do you think it is? Just some thoughts. Yeah, what's it about? What's behind that? Why evangelicals? Because I would think the closer you are to Jesus, the more likely you would be to embrace the ideology that was espoused by Jesus, and the more likely you would be then to open up your arms to people. So what do you think?
Oh. I think that's hard for me to answer, because I'm not of the same, I don't agree with that. You know what I mean? And in the church that I go to back home, and the church that I go to here, and the ministry that I'm a student leader in, I would think that, no one, at least the people that I've spoken to that, in all of those places, don't, necessarily agree with that either. And I would also be curious as to what their, biblical or spiritual, what do I want to say, reasoning behind thinking that would be, because I think for the safety of all people, not necessarily like a patriotic American, like they're ruining the like I think for that there should be some sort of regulation, but to say something like this is to lack a certain amount of empathy for people who really are trying to escape some really serious and dangerous things. And yes, I 100% agree with you. Like, if we are trying to be thinking in a way that's like, like what would Jesus do? Like, yes, he would be empathetic to those people. Yes, he would want them to experience a sort of peace that they're trying to find by running away from those things. So short answer is I very truthfully could not tell you why they think that way or what they think the pros would be to come from that. Because, yeah, you would think not only would they want to be empathetic, but, if you're believing that we're trying to further the kingdom of God by acting like Christ and by spreading the good news of the gospel, you'd want to witness to these people through those actions of empathy.
Right. It's just more people on your team, so to speak, right? Bro, how about you?
Yeah, I don't like to generalize people, but I would be confident in saying a lot of people who consider themselves evangelical are more so, they want to use the church as a means for their political stance or whatever. So even I think it was something like 80% of evangelicals voted for Trump. And I know plenty of legitimate Christians who did, and I can stand by that. But I think the reality is you have to, I'd say from an insider's perspective, that a lot of people within the church, especially, I was originally from North Carolina, and so everyone goes to church no matter what you believe. That's just a part of the culture. And so I think a lot of it has to do with they kind of use the church and say, like, this is what God wants behind what really their religion or what they're worshiping is a type of politics.
Okay. Hey, does anybody have a question they want to ask? Anyone want to kick a question out? Who's got some? For one of these guys. Who's got a question? Because we got a resident communist.
What do you think about gay people in the LGBT community?
Oh my God. Wait, hang on. We'll come back to that.
Just jump right in, huh?
Wait, let's come back to that one. That's a great question. Yeah. All right. Dude, you're the best, man. All right. Don't hold back. All right. Who else? Who's got another question about immigration? Yes, ma'am. All right. Dude. Yes.
Coming from a Christian background myself, I think that to answer this question, I think a lot of it comes from evangelical being from the Bible and from the gospel. And I think that a lot of people tend to view the Bible as strictly not as not a historical piece, but rather just that every word is of God. And I think that that's where a lot of people get into trouble here, because the Bible doesn't necessarily say it's okay, but obviously there are instances in the Bible that have it. So I think that's where a lot of people get stuck, because they take every word as not up for interpretation.
Oh, you mean so there are instances that seem really
right. So I think
narrower.
that's why, at least from my point of view, that I think a lot of people just say, oh, it's in the Bible, so it's fine. But, I definitely don't agree with that.
All right, man. Do anyone want a quick comment on that, or you just go? Do you have a question for them, actually? An actual question? All right, Dick. Go ahead.
Do you think that the rise of youth groups and missionary work and all that, do you think that elderly people are more the reason for this statistic, or do you think it's youth and elderly people?
Can you say that one more time? Are you elderly people
So do you think elderly people are more persuasive to this than, the youth of America in
like the old
Lutheran
conservatives
churches?
in the church is what's pushing this? I'd say being from an evangelical Christian, that's kind of like my circle of people. There's plenty of young people that would probably kind of go with this. And I think it's a very, especially when you're talking evangelicals, it's just a very politically conservative group of people, which is not. One of my best friends is a liberal, but he's like one of the strongest Christians I know. So I think there's kind of this pressure in evangelical circles where you have to be conservative. I even from my hometown, so I'm from a really rural area, there's like, someone shared a picture of like Donald Trump and Jesus on a beach, and it was like, Obama kicked me out, but Donald brought me back in, or something. And so like, that's just the circle of like...
Dude, Donald Trump's never been in a church in his life.
Yeah, so like, that's just like, that I believe, I don't know what your experience is, but like, from my experience, that's just, the pressure is to be politically conservative, sometimes more so than being biblically minded.
Dude, that's cool. That's insightful. Yep. Go ahead, bro.
So this question kind of got half answered there, but it's more so for you, the one who's holding the microphone now. So you said that you don't believe in like the idea that immigration harms America. Do you feel like a certain pressure towards you or an ostracization from your community as an evangelical Christian for having more liberal leaning beliefs? And how far do you believe that like the far right, religious right, represents the evangelical white Christian community?
Well, hang on. Let's just go with the personal one. Do you feel some pressure in just yourselves personally to be more liberal, open-minded, this sort of thing?
I don't think that I necessarily feel pressured to so much as I think that thinking in a more empathetic way than what's depicted by this description here, I feel, at least to me, is more biblically accurate about who Jesus is, who God calls us to be as Christians. I don't think anyone is, like, I've never had a moment where like, well, I think that, immigration harms America, but like the pastor of my church is like, you better not think that. You know what I mean? And so like, I think I've always kind of felt this way. You know what I mean? Felt that like we do need to be empathetic and like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I got you.
But and then at the same time, I've never been pressured to feel the other way either. And that being said, I know that like there are tons of other churches where you might be pressured to think that way. So like I can't speak for them as fully. But no, to answer your question, I've never felt pressured to think otherwise. I just think that is a more accurate depiction of.
So here, let me say a couple things. Right, first off, we never asked. I don't know if anyone out here is asking. Wait, but what are the numbers? Is anyone asking that, like, to yourselves? Like, well, what do we mean? The most likely to say, most likely by what? By how many percentage points? Is anyone asking that? Who's asking that? Anybody? Someone's got to be asking that. Dude, are you asking? Simon, are you asking that, man? All right, thanks. All right, somebody is. Damn. All right, so here's the deal. Take a look at this. So here's the statement. So it's 54% of white evangelicals say that greater immigration harms the U.S. Versus, oh, you know what? This is supposed to be, well, hang on. Represent the group most likely to say that harms. This is, I forgot to reverse these. So 49% of white Catholics and Protestants thinking 19%, this should be shifted. I forgot to inverse the numbers. So 19% of Hispanic Catholics thinks that greater racial diversity hurts the U.S. and 20% of black Protestants, right? So you can see that it's not by that much, first off, right? And so here's a sociological take on it. So to look at it from a different perspective. So there are a couple things, right? We know that here, so this is, these are where evangelicals live in the U.S. These states, these are, so 60% Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and so on. And then you start to see all these other states where it's also fairly dark, right? So you see, just notice, right? And then up here in the liberal Northeast in California, where there are fewer evangelicals, right? Well, those happen to be the poorest states in the U.S., right? It's not Mississippi, but the poorest states in the U.S., and also the least educated states. So people we're the highest percentage of people who are less likely to have even gone to high school, certainly take college classes, to even go beyond that. And what happens and what we know is the more education you have, the more open you are to certain ideas. Like, for example, immigration isn't such a problem. Why? Because the more education you have and the more money you have, the more likely you are to hang around in circles where immigration is actually not going to harm you. It's actually going to benefit you. No immigrant's going to come and take your job, per se, right? That you meet people who are immigrants, right? So you come to a place like Penn State, you're in a class like this, you're more likely to meet people who are not from the U.S., who are immigrants, who are different from you, and so on. And you start to naturally see these things, and then your mind becomes more open to those as possibilities, because that's the vision. What you guys see right here, is much more than the vision of the United States, very multicultural, very complex, very so on. So it really, if we control for those things, for education and income and so on, the percentage of evangelicals who think that greater immigration and diversity harms America is probably the same as mostly these other groups. It's just like, okay. So in a way, it's true. I'm not like tricking you per se, but I am also showing you that, well, it's really not. Like if I took the average evangelical at a place like Penn State, like people in your youth groups here, and I compared them to people in youth groups of other people who are not evangelicals, and I asked them this question, there's not going to be that much of a difference. So what happens is you see headlines like this, and people who have an axe to grind against religion or against Christians can take this headline and run with it. And before you know it, people are pointing their fingers at all Christians, like, oh, Christians are narrow-minded, and Christians are stupid, and Christians hate immigrants, and Christians, all these kinds of evil things that you guys are, which in fact you're not. But that's what we do as human beings, unfortunately.
So it is controlling for like those areas and those demographics for like the uneducated, less educated.
So these numbers are not controlling for those. So,
right, but the new numbers you gave, where it's like it matches more with Black Protestants, Hispanic Catholics.
Yeah, it probably would more so.
So
maybe not Hispanics and Blacks so much, but it would be a lot closer.
So I'm just like, I don't know, my mind's going of like, should we be willing to like discredit those people who are claiming to be white evangelicals? And
no, but what you want to do is say, okay, so what is it about poorer, less educated white evangelicals that leads them to be more likely to say, hey, immigration is not a good thing, and so we need to do something about that? What is it about them that leads to that? And that maybe isn't that different from lots of other groups. It's not about white people. It's not about, you know what I mean? Oh, yeah, they're all members of the KKK. It's like, no, actually, that's not really the case. Poor Catholics are kind of pretty much the same as poor evangelicals. So it's like, all right, where are we at here? And that's the thing that we always want to be careful about. Dude, thanks, man. Thanks for coming on. Yeah, thanks for representing. Yeah, you can sit there. All right, man. All right, so let's go to the next. Oh, this one's going to be fun. So, not yet, my friend. First off, I need an athlete. So it might be good to have a couple athletes, but at least one athlete, Mom. Yo, bro. Sean, the guy next to you. Yeah. Why don't you come down? And I need preferably someone who's not black. Wait, hang on, both of you guys? Oh yeah, let's bring both of you guys down. All right, come on, man, let's go. Oh yeah. Oh, damn. Oh, this is going to be fun. All right. Oh yeah. My God versus my enemies. All right, gentlemen, have a seat.
Here.
Have a seat, Mom. So you guys you're both athletes, you're both on the football team, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, what's your name, bro?
CJ.
CJ?
I'm Daniel.
Daniel? You remember CJ from day one? He was up here. What were you up here talking about that first day? What was it? Something with inequality or something.
He doesn't remember.
You weren't up here.
It was like the disparities in collective net worth.
Yeah, that was it. All right, so here's this one. Ready? Explain that.
Usain Bolt's the fastest man on
On
earth.
the left is the men's finals, and on the right is the women's finals. And as best as I can ascertain, every single one of them is black.
Okay.
Explain that. Why?
I guess black people are fans.
I should have just had two white people up here. That would have been more fun.
I mean,
No, go ahead. This is good.
I mean, like, I guess
Hold up.
like the picture speaks for itself. Like,
Can you
No?
can you tell me what countries those are?
Ah,
I mean, I know it's two Jamaican countries.
All right. Okay,
Two
got it.
Jamaican runners. Who's in the red? Do we know?
Who's in the
One of
red?
Is that even red? I got
Yeah,
bad.
I would say. I'd say you probably are pretty good at imagining.
I know one's in the
US,
You, I know Tyson Gates in there somewhere.
Trinidad,
Who's in that one? Trinidad?
Jamaica,
Well,
the dude in the orange.
from my own track and field experience,
All right, have a seat again.
Western Indian countries are known to have better sprint coaches than the rest of the world.
Okay, all right. So you immediately start with countries, right? Okay, got it. So you moved away from race, right? And now you're going to countries, and now you go to coaches.
I guess
What? Okay.
it's
go ahead.
known that like Usain Bolt has like the tip-top regimen of training within track, and he seems to have ran perfect in this race. They always talk about it.
All right, regimen and training, and okay, cool, man. What else do you think?
I mean, I'm not much. Like, I don't know much about track. I know I ran track myself a little bit, but like,
That's a motherfucker.
What other questions do you got?
I mean, I don't really have many questions. Like,
Because here are some of the answers that we could have. What are some of the racist, what would be identified as racist answers that you've heard?
oh, I
Black
know
people
one.
are faster
Yeah.
than white people.
I'm not gonna lie. I did hear this once in high school that apparently predominantly white people assumed that black people had an extra muscle in their leg that made them
Extra
run
muscle
faster.
in the leg?
Yeah,
I thought it was a ligament.
or ligament, muscle, whatever the hell it
Our
was.
knees are bigger or something.
I've heard of bone.
It was something outrageous.
All right, so
I'm
you
just
got
like,
extra
wow.
muscles in your legs. Got that. All right.
There was that one. I
What
heard.
else?
And then another one I heard was that, I mean, we're from Africa, so like we naturally run faster because we're running from lions.
Because people
That
from
was-
Africa
that
are
was-
running
that
from
was a pretty
lions,
messed
so
up
they
one I
run
heard.
faster. That
Chase
that
that
totally
rabbit.
makes sense
And
because
then-
lions are pretty populated. You know.
Yeah.
Well, I know, like, my cousin lives deep in Dade County, Florida, and
Yeah.
like, they chase rabbits. Like, that's a thing. There.
So they chase rabbits.
No,
so
they
it's-
do, though. That's a thing.
So
Like,
they
you can look
actually
that
do.
up.
I got you, man.
Adidas had a commercial with one of the speed trainers who's, like, notable for football, and he, like, was chasing a rabbit in the commercial. And the
Okay,
commercial
so
was,
that
like,
would
how fast.
so these people maybe were chasing rabbits.
They might have.
What about different body size, man? What about the degree to which maybe? So you're saying it's sociology. It's the training. It's what goes behind that. It's all the stuff that goes there. Just like so, you all like here on the football team, for example, you all got all your training facilities. But if you compare what football has at Penn State to compare what track has at Penn State, compared to
Yeah,
track
but
at
now we're
let's say
talking
USC,
revenue, though.
Yeah, we don't. We
We're
don't
talking
wanna-
revenue now, though. We're talking
We
something
don't,
totally
we
different.
don't want to go on.
We're talking
go
about
ahead.
brands. I really don't want to talk about this. Like,
Yeah, I
it's
got
going to
it.
make me look like an asshole.
No, I got you. No, listen. No, here it is. But seriously, if you compare that, compared to other universities that push track forward, and they put other sports like basketball or hockey or football on the back burner, but if you look at their facilities for track, they're going to have really, really nice facilities. And you're saying that matters. Like coaching matters, facilities
Nah,
matter.
it definitely matters.
Because you're going to pull in the top athletes.
Exactly.
How about like track in these countries? Like how is it viewed by the population compared to the U.S.?
Are you talking about like, okay, so like in these I guess developing countries.
Yeah, like what percentage of people in their countries, not the U.S., but like in Jamaica, know who holds the world record for the 100-meter dash versus in
everybody.
the U.S.? Everybody.
I mean, Usain Bolt's like the pride of his country. He's proud
Yeah.
of Jamaica.
All right. So in the U.S., we don't. So we're just not holding that up. If I asked, does anyone know who, and so you can throw out the name. How many people have not heard the dude saying Bolt? How many have not heard that dude's name? Know who he is? Usain Bolt. Who holds the record in the 100-meter dash? Who hasn't heard of him? Okay, how about the person that came in second? How many know who that is? In the most recent 100-meter finals in the Olympics. Who came in second? Raise your hands.
Was it Johan Blake?
What's that?
His name was Johan Blake, right?
No, I don't know who it is. Yeah, maybe it is. But the point is, but if we were if we were in Trinidad or we were in Jamaica, we would know that. But in the U.S., we don't know that. Okay, so here's another
Wait,
thing.
Sam.
Though. There's something
Sam.
else that a lot of people say. That
Sam,
there's
did you say 2016?
what's that?
Rio?
Yeah.
Second was actually an American,
Oh, really?
Justin Gatlin.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, the
but
little
with
short
West
one.
African heritage, right?
Right. But he was American, and none of us know that.
Yeah. Okay, so listen. Here's the deal. All these people. Now let's bring biology into it for a second, right? We're going to bring biology.
Not too good at
in.
bio, so.
The degree to which all these people are better, their bodies are better suited to
I have
run
a quick
track.
question.
Yep.
Why do you think the women's race was so much closer?
That's only the very.
Not
That's the beginning.
That's just the start?
That's the start.
Oh, I'm
man,
tripping.
yeah.
Sorry, girls in here.
Yeah. All right. So listen, man. All these people aren't just African. They're West Central African, and their ancestry is West Central Africa. Okay, so even if they're from the West Indies or they're from the U.S., whatever, their ancestry is West Central African. They're not East African. They're not North African. They're not South African. They're not from Uganda. They're not from Tanzania. They're from East Africa. Okay? And so one of the ideas, or West Africa. So one of the ideas that some people have proposed is you don't see, for example, any Koreans there, right? And here's one of the...
They dominate speed skating.
You do... What's that?
Don't the Koreans dominate speed skating?
Yeah, they do. But one of the ideas here, stand up, bro. So people have done a lot of measurement of bodies, right? And so bodies around the world are different. Remember, we've done all this stuff like hair differences and ear differences and noses and body types and so on. We see this. So one thing that people have identified is that among West Africans in particular, people tend, on average, not across the board, but on average, to have longer legs, slightly longer legs, and shorter torsos.
I do got a pretty short torso.
Yeah. Okay, got it? Whereas, dude, Koreans in particular, let's just go with Koreans. Wait, who's Korean here really fast? Are you Chinese?
Yeah.
Dude, we'll go with you real fast. Chinese is good enough. Here, just step up here really fast. It's the same country. You know what I mean? China, Korea, whatever, right? That's the
Come on,
difference.
Sam, you gotta do better than that now.
Okay, so the idea, so if we go to East Asians, what's your name? Angie. East Asians, on average, gentlemen, have shorter legs. Wait, hang on.
Hey, man, you putting her on blast.
Hang on. Hold on. Bro, go ahead. All right. Okay, you ready? East Asians, on average, have shorter legs and longer torso, ever so slightly, on average. Okay, it doesn't mean that there aren't East Asians who have long legs and short torsos. It doesn't mean there are people of West African ancestry that don't have longer torsos and shorter legs, but on average, that's what we're looking at. And so for sprints, the ideal body type for a sprint is one thing that I've been reading, that I have read, and many people have argued, is long legs and short torso is really awesome. So you're not going to see many East Asians in the finals of the 100 meters. In fact, you're almost going to see none. Even though there might be, actually a few years ago there was this Chinese dude who made it I don't think he ever made it to the finals. Maybe he did, but Big, tall dude. But you got that, right? So body size and body type can come into play, but in very tiny and subtle ways. Something like
but
track.
that's the thing, though. Like, those small, subtle ways is what makes a difference, though.
Dude.
Because as you get higher and higher.
Yeah, the higher you go.
Exactly.
detail-oriented.
Because look at that finish line. That is like
Half a
two
step.
100ths of a second, and 2/100ths of a second may be. There are a lot of things that go into it.
Yeah.
Training,
Because
all
like
sorts of things.
the average human being will look at that picture and say it's like not a close race, but
Yeah.
like as a high level athlete, that was a super close race.
Super close because they're going really, really fast, and every tiny little bit matters. And so,
Not
on
gonna lie, the
average,
guy in the
body
orange still got
type
smoked.
is going to matter. Even shaving your head. None of these dudes. None of the men have long afros, man. They're not going to let their hair grow out because it's going to cut the aerodynamics, wind resistance. Angie, thanks, man. All right, gentlemen. That's it. You're
right,
done. You can go home. No, you can't leave. That's it. Yeah. You have anything more you want to say? Oh yeah, I got one. How about black guys in playing football, man? How come the football team has so many black guys on it?
Well, that
Outlet
one I
for
can't
violence, and I won't get in trouble.
What's
You
that?
know what?
Outlet for violence,
got,
and
like-
I won't get in trouble.
No, you're good. You got 60 seconds. Why does the football team have so many black guys?
You don't want to answer this.
Well, we have like you. You brought up the point. We have particular body types, so
I don't think that matters in football, dude.
you don't
It
think
might
so?
matter in track. It's not going to matter in football.
I think it definitely does. I mean, if you look at any Division I football player, they're not the average human. Like
Dude,
There's
there
a
are many
difference.
more white guys with those bodies, man. What do you think? Come
in
on.
football,
I'm not seeing that.
You want the
dude,
you want the,
speed
you want the
kills.
real
Chris,
answer?
hey, who's got a mic at the top? Chris, can you
want-
get it?
you want the- you
Here,
want
hang
the
on,
real
hang on.
answer?
I'm going to ask this white guy. Wait, do you have a question, bro? Or do you have a statement? You have an answer to that? Oh, my man. All right.
Okay, so I want to preface this by saying that I'm a runner, and like the difference between, so I'm a distance runner personally, and then the difference between distance runners and sprinters, I don't know, it's just like, I've always been interested in like the biological background between what makes different runners run differently. So basically the way that muscle works is that you can have either fast twitch fibers and slow twitch fibers. Everyone has some of each, but people in West Africa, as you talked about, are more biologically likely based on like some evolutionary need. I don't know exactly what it was, but I know that there was some evolutionary need that basically natural selection made them more likely to have higher concentrations of this fast twitch muscle, which makes you a better sprinter.
Yeah, but it could just be genetic mutation, man.
Yeah, that's possible.
It just happens
Yeah.
that way.
Well, then why
Okay.
do runners in Ethiopia and Kenya tend to be like much more distance oriented?
Well, also because because they just value distance in, say, Ethiopia, Sudan,
yeah, but
and
that's
so on.
it's like they have been for like so much longer than
Yeah.
that's ever.
No,
been,
this
like,
is
a
the question.
sociologi- Like way before Olympic times.
Okay,
there's
I got
lots
you.
of
No,
shows
I
and
got you.
stuff like that,
So,
yeah.
what do you have a question? Do you have an answer about the football team?
Well, my question. Well, the answer about the football team is that because
no, we'll go with your question.
Okay.
Actually,
Well, can I do the football thing first?
No, go with your
Sure.
Okay, fine. All right. The question is, why am I perceived as racist when I say that, like, black people, because of the evolutionary need, like, have that fast twitch fiber, are more likely to have that fast twitch fiber than white people? Like, even though that's a scientifically supported fact,
That-
why am I perceived as racist when I say that?
That wouldn't make you racist. I mean, I don't think you're racist for saying that. It's just
I've
it's
been
a
called out
legitimate
for saying
reason.
that as racist. And actually, black people that I've talked to have not said anything about it. Like they believe me. And then white people that I've talked to have called me out for being racist for that. That's
Well,
just something interesting to me.
don't pay them any mind. Like, you have a very valid, and it makes logical sense for as to why that is.
Thanks.
It's not racist at all.
Thanks,
if anything,
man.
the people you're talking
dude,
to,
you
are
don't
just
know.
very
He might
ignorant.
be. This guy has looks like he might have a KKK hood at home, bro. You know what I mean? Like you don't know. Don't let him off the hook so fast. First off, bro, I don't know the research on all that. Like, because I also got to respond to the YouTube crowd who's all now looking all this stuff up. But I will say there are things of what you're talking about, just like what I'm talking about, that really, there are a lot of factors that come into play, but that does not explain why there's so many black dudes on the football team.
Well, when it comes down to it, when you think about, I mean, me personally speaking, I mean, from my own experience, just to start off, like, I am Canadian, not really initially from America, but I've been in America a lot and kind of observed what has gone on through history and currently as to why that is. And once again, as you said earlier, there are many factors as to why there are more African Americans playing the sport of football than, you know, Caucasian people. But I think one main factor that we have to obviously, I mean, we're not going to certainly be oblivious to it, is financial situations and different financial backgrounds that play into the role of, you know, African Americans predominantly playing football.
Okay, so in that case, let me ask you this. Explain that.
And then that's perfect.
So
when I say financial issue, I went to a predominantly white school. I was only black kid in my grade for 4 years straight, and my school was amazing at hockey. And we looked at the hockey team, we had no black people on the team. You know, you ask why? Simply put, hockey is a very, you know, like, it costs a lot of money. Those sticks they have in their hand cost up to anywhere between $200 to $500.
Ice time.
And they break those sticks pretty easily, so replacing that costs a lot of money.
Okay, sticks don't cost that much, dude, but ice time does.
They do cost.
Equipment?
No, sticks are expensive.
Sticks cost that much?
Fiberglass sticks cost like.
Dude, they're really expensive.
God,
Trust
it's
me,
just a
they're
different world we
they're
live
expensive
in.
as
All
hell.
right, okay, like,
And so-
okay, I got
and
you.
So once again.
All right.
And so once again,
Damn.
when I say it's
Okay.
potentially you know, more so financial, when you think about how much it's paid to put your kid in hockey and the ice time, the sticks, the pads, whatever the hell it may be, compared to, you know, buying a basketball and a pair of shoes for a kid to play basketball, financially speaking, it costs way more or less for a kid to play basketball and potentially elevate himself playing basketball than would
about to ask
hockey.
me something.
Okay, here's my next question then. Think about body types, okay? Because people look at that and they'll be like, oh yeah, black people, they jump higher or whatever the case is, right?
Body type wouldn't be a factor in this at all, in my opinion.
In hockey?
If you look at our hockey team right now, I've seen kids who are short and kids who are extremely tall who play hockey. Whereas when it comes to basketball, I've seen
Height
guys who are
definitely
short
matters
and
in
tall play basketball.
Yeah, I got you, man.
Like-
Okay, so what you're saying is, so if you look at the skills you need in hockey,
Like, I look at, I mean, I see the basketball picture. Yeah, I see like an entire team of African Americans. But with that being said, like, I mean, when you look at the NBA compared to like high school basketball, right? There's like 5'9" point guards in high school, but the average size of a point guard or a shooting guard in the NBA is like 6'6".
dude, those hockey players there also are mostly really tall.
Yeah.
The same thing, man. Doesn't really matter.
I
And so
think-
if you look at like
But
the
I do
skills,
think his financial point is a huge, like,
that's a huge point.
and
Yeah.
especially like he only talked about certain aspects of that. Like, you have travel, you have time consuming.
Yeah.
How many hours does your mother or
Yeah.
your father work? Like, there's certain intersectional factors that go into that.
Who plays hockey in here? Who played hockey?
My boy Russ from Hamden.
Dude, you too? So you would argue that like, yeah? Dude, so you
I
would,
have no idea.
Russ, you would argue it's financial? Look at this guy. Is he like a hockey guy or what? Do you have any teeth, bro? Yeah, you got your teeth. You're all right. Is it fine? What would you say?
I would say that financially, it does factor into it. I don't really know what else to say.
Dude, the other side is just interest.
Just to kind of add on to what I said earlier, that said, there are many factors that factor into as to why you see such a big disparity between whites playing hockey and blacks playing, I guess, basketball or football, whatever the hell it may be.
And
I think what else also plays a role into that is, I mean, just it's like simply put, it's just the culture and like the environment you're exposed to.
Yep.
Like, I know for me, growing up in Canada, like, I was exposed to hockey, but not nearly as much as I was exposed to basketball, for instance. Because initially I played basketball. I wasn't a football player to begin with until my sophomore year in high school. But, like, once again, like, the exposure I had to hockey was, I guess, a lot more than maybe CJ had to go or was exposed to back in his younger days, for sure.
So, like, at least half those guys on the bottom are Canadian, probably.
Most likely. I would assume so, yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Thanks, man. All right, that's it. Wow. Dude, thanks, dog. Where'd you... All right, thanks, man. Dude, it's fascinating. So one of the things that I see is that, you know, when people, if you think, bring this up next time you're those of you who are watching sports in your living room, and just ask that question and see what kind of conversation you get going, because it's a huge conversation. It's like, why is it like all the black dudes in the NBA? And then you get into the muscle thing and you get into all that. Okay, listen, I need one volunteer. Actually, we're just going to go with one. And preferably someone, let's go with someone who's just a white person, just average white person. Not Simon either, man. You're not an average white person, Simon. Dude. Oh, wait, the woman who, the almost Christian. Have you been up here before, though? You've never been up here? Okay, come on up. Let's go. The tie-dye. Chris. What's your name?
Bray.
Bray?
Yeah.
B-R-A-Y?
A-E.
B-R-A-E? Is that short, or is that the whole?
It's a town in Ireland I was named after.
Yeah? All right, Bray. Here you go. You ready?
No.
Explain that. Combined SAT scores. Look who has the lowest scores. Black people. One, and then where we're going to go. Second lowest is going to be American Indian. No, it's going to be Mexican American, Puerto Rican.
Is this with or without the people that cheat?
What's that? What's
Is
that?
this with or without the people that cheat on the SATs?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Well, it does.
Wait.
It totally does.
What's your question?
People cheat on the SATs.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I got
Yo.
you. No, leave the cheating out. We're going to assume that this is good.
Yo, we also
All right.
have to remember.
Well, evidently, if it includes cheating, then black people, y'all need to learn to cheat a little bit better. But
Yo, Sam.
All right.
We also have to note that American Indian is super high because people say that they're like 3% or 2%, or Elizabeth Warren, who says she's 154th percent or something.
Yeah,
So,
American Indian.
So it's higher than.
Yeah, a lot
what it
of
would
people
be.
like Elizabeth Warren and stuff can say that they're American Indian. You know what I mean? Did
When
she
she's
say
not.
that? Isn't she American Indian? All right, I got you. Okay, explain that. Why do Asians have the highest score than white people, and why do black people have the lowest score? If you were looking at that with your friends and just going like, yeah, what's that all about? What would you say? Only you're saying it in front of a whole class.
I know that when I visited China, the girl I stayed with, she said her parents put a lot more pressure on her than to study.
Okay.
Just like might be a factor, like how much pressure their parents put on them to study, or like how much they actually do, like SAT prep or anything like that.
So how
How much they can afford SAT prep.
Okay. So the pressure people put on studying, the ability to pay for SAT prep courses. So what else? So how do you explain black people? Because the SAT is about the best measure. It's really the closest measure to IQ that everybody uses. It's not a measure.
Yeah, but not
of IQ.
everyone's good at taking tests. So you're forcing kids to go in there and take tests when their skills could be inside the classroom.
Okay. So you're taking a test. Maybe you're not used to the test. You don't know the test. Okay, I got it. And maybe that's not where your skills are. Anything else?
I just think we shouldn't have standardized tests in general, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's a cop-out. All right. Yeah, I agree with you, but... Bro, you have a question? Yo, Kristen, do you have your mic? Over there. Raise your hand again so she'll get it. Who else has a question? For Bray. Who's got a question for Bray? All right, go ahead, man.
I think for the black people,
Oh, dude, you got to speak louder.
I think for the black people, it involves some people from Africa, and the curriculum is really different from in the U.S. And I think that also explains why they don't do as well, because we spend a lot of time studying something different from what people study here.
Okay, so you're saying that maybe some of the reason is for some of the black people, if you're from Africa in particular, it's a very different curriculum. You take the SATs, you don't score as well. All right, man. Bro, Do you have a question actually for Bray?
It was just more of a statement.
All right, man.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, say it louder.
I think a lot of the reason that you see these differences in scores is just because of the different resources and utilities that the schools have that you go to. I think it's kind of obvious that even in 2019 there are still like majority white schools and then majority minority schools, and on average the majority white schools have a lot more resources and a lot more money going into them to afford things like better teachers, like higher education courses, better SAT preps.
Bray, what would you say
Yeah,
about
but schools
that?
aren't segregated. Like, it's not all white schools.
They're not legally
I mean, they might be
segregated.
primarily white, but there's still going to be diversity there. So why aren't those people getting those resources?
All right. That's a good question. It's a good. Do you have a question, actually, bro?
Yeah.
Wait, hang on. We have a question.
Okay.
Hang on.
So, like...
Wait, hang on, bro. What's your name?
I'm Scott. Hi.
Scott
Nice to meet
has
you.
a question.
Okay, so, like, I hear you. I, like, am processing what you're saying. And I just need, for, like, 1 second to just, like, highlight. I don't think, like, white Americans understand the socioeconomic status. And even in this conversation, we just kind of, like, went over it. And when you talk about, like, we've talked about multiple times, like, where minorities are, like, where they, like, congregate most, like, in inner cities. You're talking about families that honestly, like, can't even pay enough money to like have their own rent. So like how are they going to pay for the SATs? And you're talking about getting back to like the sports conversation, which is the question that I had before. Like you have athletes and they utilize sports as their only way to get out of the system that's broken and against them. And like
Wait, hang on though. Hang on, Bray. I have a response to Scott here.
But my question to you would be how I understand your question being like they can utilize it, but how if you put yourself in the shoes of being in someone where your family, like let's pretend that you grew up in like, I don't know, trailer trash, for instance, because that would be like the white equivalent, I feel like. If you grew up there, your family couldn't pay for anything, you barely put food on your table, and you heard someone at the front of the classroom go, well, you can utilize other resources, there's other things, but the school system that you're in, your guidance counselors don't even promote schools. Like, how do you go about combating that? Like,
okay,
how
hang
can
on.
you say that then?
All right, hang on, Bray. I'm going to challenge Scott on something here. How do you explain this?
Okay.
Right? Half of all black people in America are middle class. Okay? So when we talk about inequality, we're really talking about the extremes. So half of all black people in America are middle class. On top of the middle class ones, black people, then you have the rich black people. And then you got poorer black people. But the fact is, most people who are really at the poor end are not even taking the SATs. So the picture, the question that you're raising, what do you do with people who live in such poor communities and they can't even afford X, Y, or Z? Well, the fact is, that's a distortion of black Americans because half of all black people are middle class starting with. So, and then you got the other black people above and so on. So how do you explain that?
Well, my explanation of that would be that, like, if you look at the 1%, like, you look at, like, the people who own the most money, it's not a secret that, like, the distribution of wealth in America is swayed more towards the white having higher incomes. So, like...
Yeah, but the 1% is a small number of white people, and that doesn't explain...
I know, but you're also... You've already proven my point in previous classes where we're talking about the majority of white people are, on average, paid more than black people. So saying that, we've already made the connection and established the fact that socioeconomic status and how much money you have plays into how well you can afford other things. So, like, that deconstructs that argument.
All right, okay. Bray, do you have anything to add to that?
I do think it's really important to acknowledge like the top 1%. Like obviously with the college cheating scandal, like I don't know, they just had the money to pay their way into college, which is not okay.
Okay. Yes. Do you have a question? Is it an actual question?
I don't have a question, but I have something to say about why.
Yeah. Okay.
So typically, people of the white majority group are the ones that are making the standardized test, which is why there's the scores are like that. Like the questions are more related to white people's experiences than other groups of people.
Okay, my response to that would be that was true in the past, but now that's not really the case. Like we've really dug into those tests and we've really reshaped them and changed them and done a lot of work in that area, but it certainly was true in the past. But it wouldn't really be very true with these numbers. All right, you ready? Let me show you a couple things. Take a look at this. Bray, take a look at that. This is SAT scores by family income. Here's the score. Here's family income. And watch how, as family income goes down, the scores go down. And who has the lowest scores? The families that are poorest. Okay? This is on average. It doesn't mean that somebody who's down here can't score really high, right, in this box, or someone in this box can't score really high, or that somebody up here scored really low. But the idea is, watch it, look at how it just falls. Okay? So now, then watch this. Right? Look at, here's household income. Highest scores, Asians. Highest household income, Asians on average. This is median, by the way. So half are above, half are below. Lowest is black. Lowest is Native American, but Native American isn't on here. Then we have Hispanic, any race. Then we have all races. Then we have white. And then we have Asian. Okay? So now come back here. Who's going to have the highest scores? Right? Well, if we're going by this, it's going to be people with the highest income. So who's that? It's right here. It's Asian. So now we come back. Okay, oh, it turns out Asians have the highest score. Who has the second highest score on average? White people. Oh, look at that. Let's check it out. Who has the third highest score? And then we go on down, right? And so see what happens is it's really directly related to these things. And what you were saying is really on in a sense of like it still is about schools. And you're saying it about schools. Like, well, it is. Because look, what happens is the schools that are the poorest schools are going to have the lowest SAT scores. And the schools that are the wealthiest schools, on average, and they're wealthiest because they have higher tax brackets, right? So their families are paying more in taxes, the schools are better, the whole 9 yards. And then look at what happens. They're going to, on average, have higher SAT scores. The people with the poorest families paying the smallest amount of taxes going into the schools, and they don't have enough money to fund the schools, they're going to have the lowest SAT scores. And this is exactly what we see. And then on average, it doesn't take a lot because there are really wealthy black people and really poor white people and really wealthy black areas whose students on average score really high on the SATs, and really poor white areas whose students are like living down here, and their students on average are scoring really low on the SATs. So when we look at this, this is the average score. There are still white people who are scoring way down here. And down here, American Indian or Asian or black or Puerto Rican or Mexican American, there's still people who are scoring way out here. This is average. So, that's where we're at. Okay. Nice job. All right, man. Bray, give it up. Okay, you ready? We're going to do one more. I need who's like who do you imagine which one? I need the wealthiest black person in the class. The black person who thinks they're probably the wealthiest black person in the class. Who would that be? Dude, is that you? You think so? Not you, your family. Yeah? You think it's probably you? All right, come here. All right, man. Now I need the person who... What's your name, bro?
Brent.
What is it?
Brent.
Brent? Dude, Brent. Brent, that's such a wealthy black person name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, fuck. It's not like... What is your... Where are you from?
I'm from, like, South Jersey.
South Jersey?
Yeah.
Yeah? And when you say you're wealthy, what do you mean?
Well, my house is, like, on, like, 10...
Speak right here.
My house is, like, on, like, 10 acres, and it's, like, basically like a mansion.
And what kind of car do you drive?
Well, some days I get to choose, like, BMW or, like, a Cadillac, so, like, whatever one I want.
All right, man. All right, cool. Are you straight?
Yeah, straight. Pretty straight, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, straight.
All right, let me just ask, are you single, by the way?
Yeah, I'm single.
All right, he's single too. All right, man. All right, so listen, man. Now I need the poorest black or brown person in class. Who's the poorest black or brown person? Who do you think it is? Who probably is it? It's like, yeah, it's probably me. Who do you? No, you don't even have to talk. You know, just like, who do you think? I need the poorest black or brown person. It doesn't really matter. You just can't be white. Who wants to represent? Like somebody, anybody. Come on, it's got to be someone real fast. Yo, where at? All right, come down. Good. And what's your name?
Christina.
Christina?
Yes.
Christina, this is Brent right there. Who lives in a man? Tell me what's your story? Why'd you raise your hand?
I'm here on a scholarship. I've been homeless, lived with family members, been broke like my whole life pretty much.
Yeah? Yeah. And so a very different story than him.
Yeah, I don't even get financial aid. My parents make too much.
Yeah. I can imagine that. Okay. Now I need two people. Now I need somebody who's in between, just middle class. Now hang on, I'm going to hold off. Yeah? Dude, it's middle class, bro? Yeah, no, the dude, hang on, no, dude next to you, bro. Yeah. All right, Mom. Christina, where are you from, by the way?
North Carolina.
North Carolina?
Yeah.
Yep. Bro, what's your name?
My name's Keyshawn.
What's your middle class? Like, what's that mean?
I live in Lancaster. Yeah, I still get some financial aid, but not enough to cover all of it. So.
What do you drive like a Honda Civic?
I ain't drive shit.
Yeah.
I ain't drive nothing.
So you're like a little bit on the lower end of middle class. Yeah. All right. So now, just give me a black person who drives a Honda Civic, or a brown person. You got to have like a Honda Civic or something. Is that you? All right, come here real fast. All right, here, you ready? Dude, you go. I'm gonna take the mic. Hang on real fast. All right. Middle class?
Yes.
Yeah, where do you live? Like, what kind of house?
We live in a townhouse in Philly, but my parents are from Africa, so we have a house there.
Yeah.
Too, so.
You have a house in Africa too?
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, man. But it's not a mansion like
No.
Brent's. Okay. And what's your name again?
Maymuna.
Oh, yeah. Maymuna.
Yes.
Okay, got it. All right, man. This is Christina. This is, what's your name again?
Keyshawn.
Keyshawn and Brent. Brent, right? All right, you ready? Here, we're going to do this. You three come with me. You stand down here. Christina, Maymuna, you come with me. You go, Brent, you come with me too, man. Okay, you stand, bro, you stay right there. You go right here, that's good. Yo, you stand at the top of the stairs right there. Okay, so here's what's up. Now I need a volunteer. A sorority person. Just ideally a white sorority woman. Just because. You don't have to be in a sorority, but why not? You know what I mean? Anybody. Dude, somebody. How about you? You want to do it? You're not in one? Oh, you don't have to be in one. You just have to be white then. Are you in a sorority? You're not in a sorority. Why would I think that? All right, dude. Are you in a sorority? How about if I just use you anyway?
She's close enough. All right.
Yeah, come on. You look like you're in a sorority. Come on, you got Uggs on? Are you kidding me? You should be in a sorority. They're all right now gonna try to recruit you. As soon as you can go sit down. What's your name?
Lauren.
Lauren? Okay, sit down in the front. You can just sit on the table. All right, here, I'll take that. Okay, so watch this, you all. So here's the deal. The question is the following. Just watch. Just watch. I'm just going to do this thing, and you're going to just watch, and then you're going to answer a question. So check this out. One of the problems that we have is making generalizations about rich people and poor people, and we immediately associate black and brown people with being poor, and we associate white people with being rich, and white people got all this and white people got all that. But just notice who's up here. And white people, how many of you live in what is essentially a mansion on 10 acres? Wait, white people, raise your hands. How many? Maybe not 10 acres, maybe 5 acres. Anybody? Dude, how many rooms?
There's like 6 bathrooms, I think.
6 bathrooms? Do you have an elevator?
My dad wanted to, but like, nah.
Okay, wanted an escalator?
Escalator? No, it's not.
All right, elevator. All right, that's cool, man. All right, so listen, man. So wait, hang on. White people, how many live in a house where your father or your mother wanted to even put in an elevator? And I don't mean one of those things on the stairs where you sit in it. Wait, you got that? So one person? All right. Anybody else? I have one, by the way. I wanted to buy a place with an elevator, but I haven't been able to afford it yet. 2, another person, right? Got it? Okay. So look at that. Just notice. All right, so bro, imagine, here's what goes on. This is awesome, by the way. Watch. So I want to go back to this. So here's what happens. This is over time. Notice, this is income over time. So we're going to pretend that we're going to pretend that all of these people represent a different group. So you're going to represent black people down here. You're going to represent Hispanic people, and you're going to represent white people, and you're going to represent Asian people, let's just say, right? And by the way, one of the reasons Asian household income is so high is because 2 things. One, Asians are more likely to be recent immigrants, so they're more likely to pool resources together. So it's household income. So it's all people living in the household. You can have, dude, the only reason he lives in a mansion might be because he has 12 family members living with them, and they all make $30,000 a year. You know what I mean? But they're not, you wouldn't say they're wealthy, but they all pool their money together, and so they make a lot of money. But they only all make $30,000 a year, and there's 12 of them, so that's actually a lot of money, and they can afford a mansion. You got it? So that matters. Also, Asians are more likely to be recent immigrants coming with a higher education. So therefore, they're going to automatically make more money, just like Africans, okay, who are coming to the U.S. All right, so watch this. Over time. Now, over time, they start moving up the ladder. So Christina down here, what you're going to tell Christina is, hey, man, you need to work really hard. And if you do, you can get up where Brent is. You know what I mean? That's what you want, right? Maybe not. Okay, if you had 2-3 bedrooms, that would be awesome. But yeah, if you could get or 2 bathrooms, or you get 6, that'd be good. But the idea is, you got to climb. This is time. These stairs represent time, and you got to climb, and you got to move forward. Keyshawn? So Keyshawn, same thing. You're here. You don't have a Honda Civic yet.
It's coming.
But it's coming, man. It may not be a BMW, but you start with a Honda Civic, bro, and then you move up to a Lexus, and before you know it, you're like killing it in a Dodge. All right, so same thing with you. Your goal is to get to there. So you're here at Penn State to make more money than your parents make. This is the ideal. Same with you. And bro, same with you. Okay? So everybody's going to move. And what's he going to do? So Brent here, he has his money, he has his investments, he has his brains, he has everything. What are they going to do? They're going to use that to move forward. Same with Christina, same with Keyshawn, same with all of us, right? So they're all going to move forward. But watch what happens, right? So Christina, here, turn around. So Christina, you need to start your journey on upward social mobility. So as she's walking toward us, so is Keyshawn, and so is Maimuna. And Maimuna, right? Did I get it? Dude, and so is Brent. Look, he's not stopping. So the thing is for her, watch, we're all looking at her going like, hey, you need to do really well, and you need to get ahead, and eventually, instead of being here, over time, you'll start moving up the ladder. But what you don't see, and what we're not looking at is, dude, while she's moving, so are all these other people moving. They didn't stop. Brent's not going yeah, well, you know what? Got it down. I'm just going to chill the F out now for a while. While some of these people down here, who maybe didn't get as lucky as I did to be born in my family, I'm going to just chill out here in these stairs before I really start climbing again, and we're going to let them catch up a little bit. No, man, his father, his mother, and his father's, their investments are reaping dividends every day. They don't call their broker and say, hey, you can just hold off on that a little bit while some other people catch up. No, he's moving forward. So look, Christina moved up a step, right? That's cool. But look where he moved. And look, he's going to keep going a couple more, and he's just going to keep moving. And then, so Mimuna's going to move one, and Kishon and Christina, yes, she goes one, but that's it. And he up there, the problem is when you're on top, and this is like Americans, right? When you're on top, all we're looking at is this, right here. We're looking at this. We're not looking down. We're not looking at the degree, but the reality is, Brent here and Maymuna, I got it right, dude. Kishon, they are in effect making it more difficult for her to move up because there are only so many slots, you all, right? There is not unlimited wealth, unlimited resources that everybody can be where Brent is. And the problem is you get to the top and there's not a lot of space for her. She can work and work and work. But every time she goes to the library and studies, every time she does exactly what she's supposed to do, they're doing the same thing. And look, they got head starts. So look what happens over time. Yeah, black people have made some progress, but so have Hispanics, so have white people, so have Asian people. Everybody's making progress. Nobody's stopping. But when are black people going to catch up? Like, when are you going to catch up? Like, so when once in a while, she might make it up here. And, Brent or Keyshawn might, fall apart and be down there. And you might just be back at your grandma's house in Africa somewhere because you're such a lost soul and whatever. But it's not likely. You're going to be killing it and you're going to move forward. And he's not likely to just one day go backwards. And so what happens is, if you are more privileged, and if you're sitting in this room on average, you're more privileged, it means that, hey man, there are a lot of things going on down there that people don't have an equal shot. And so the starting point matters. Okay, so Lauren, you ready? Next time someone says we all have an equal chance, what would you say?
I feel like it does kind of depend on what type of family you were born into. So I would like to think that people are able to build up from where they start, but I don't know if necessarily everyone's born into an equal chance.
Okay, so what would you say? Okay, so what would you say? Remember choice and chance. Look at Christina. Christina, right? Yeah. Look at Christina here. What would you say about her choice and her chance? Because they're both in play. Remember the other day, choice is her free will, her actions, and chance is just like the way where she's been born and opportunities and.
Maybe by chance, the opportunity or the original opportunity you were given wasn't the greatest, but I think by choice you're making awesome decisions, being able to come to school and build your way up to being maybe somebody like Brent, I think his name was.
So think like a sociologist. Is she likely to be where Brent is? Is she likely to end up where he is?
Maybe not as high as he is, but hopefully at least somewhere more comfortable than where you are now.
Yeah. What do you think about that? How do you see that for yourself? As someone who was home, here you can take that. Someone who was homeland, as someone who really.
Your environment, I guess, does kind of shape how you approach something. It can kind of shape your mindset, especially if you surround yourself with like-minded people who they let their environment shape their outcomes. But in my personal experience, I didn't let that stop me.
And that's awesome.
Yeah, I know. And I feel like it's ultimately up to the person and their determination.
Well, hang on. Let me be careful there. It's not ultimately up to the person. Okay. Because just like Brent is not going to end up down here, you can't will yourself up there. The only way you're going to get up there is to will yourself and have certain things happen that you don't control.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, because
certain things are shaped by external forces, yeah. But I mean, if you go into something all automatically thinking that, I feel like that's going to limit you.
Okay, so if you go into it automatically thinking that,
oh, I'm not going to be able to get
exactly,
to where he's
exactly.
at.
And if you go into that not thinking like, hey, there are obstacles in my way.
Of course.
So, for example, if you think, hey, I should be able to get where Maimuna is. That's like, I should do that. It's like, man, that also could be a real hindrance, because if you don't make it there, then you fall on the wayside, and like that's also hard. So somehow you got to carry both of these constantly. You know what I mean? And so, so both matter, and but choice matters. Choice, like what you're saying, like my mindset is fundamentally important, and it is, man. All right, Maimuna, thanks, man. Brent, thanks, dog.